When the Chainsaw Man trailer first dropped, it was odd. I honestly didn't know what to make of it, but I knew there was something about it that just pulled me in. It was eerie and it left me wanting to know more. I had never heard of Chainsaw Man or its author before the trailer, but as the hype surrounding the reveal flooded social media, it soon became inescapable. I usually try not to blindly follow hype, but I really wanted to know the context of the trailer and what the hell a Chainsaw Man even was. Flash forward to now, and not only have I watched the anime, but I actually caught up with the manga a while back, and I'd consider myself a pretty big fan. That being said though, after I watched the first couple of episodes last year, I wasn't immediately sold on the show for one reason. It was cause of Denji. Listen, we've all come across the needlessly horny and painfully unfunny character trope in anime, and I was just really worried that I would have to put up with that throughout all of Chainsaw Man. I didn't want to have a protagonist that thought with his dick for the whole show for some cheap comedic relief or something. Thankfully though, my assumptions on Denji were completely wrong, and his mission for boobs is actually kinda deep, bro. When we first meet Denji, he is quite possibly at the lowest point imaginable. He's alone, he's a slave to the Yakuza, and he barely has any shelter. Hell, the guy doesn't even have both of his testicles. He's in pure survival mode, and can't afford to prioritize anything but the essentials of living. He doesn't have the valiant goals and aspirations of other shonen protagonists. In fact, most might call his aspirations kinda shallow and weak. But as you spend more time with Denji, you realize that given the state of his life at the beginning of the series, his superficial goals and lack of ambition actually make him more human. It only makes sense for Denji to behave the way he does because he's never had the opportunity to develop any social skills. From his perspective, his priorities are the base level things that a human being is biologically programmed to crave. Mainly food, sleep, and sex. Thinking about Denji this much started to remind me of something that I learned in class a while back called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's basically a theory in psychology that's used to understand human motivation, and it's categorized in like a pyramid shape. It's kind of like a tier list, but for human needs. At the beginning of the show, this guy is operating purely on physiological needs. It's only after he's taken in as a public safety agent
if I can prove that I never touched my balls
that these physiological needs are satisfied and his priorities are able to change. This creates a unique relationship between Denji and the viewer, because we're able to see his dreams evolve as he progresses up the hierarchy of human needs. But what happens when something is there to confront Denji's progression? I'll be talking about some spoilers from the manga for a little bit, so if you haven't caught up yet, skip to the time shown on screen. As the story of Chainsaw Man continues, Denji's quality of life undeniably improves. He's eating good food, he has a stable, albeit dangerous, employment situation, and most importantly, he finally has people that care about him. Power becomes like the sister he never had, and although his relationship with Aki started off a bit rocky, they eventually became best friends. In volume 9 of the manga, Aki tells Captain Kishibe to withdraw the 4th Division from the Gun Devil fight so he can protect Denji and Power. If you know how Aki is, you know that this is a big deal. These actions carry a lot of weight, since defeating the Gun Devil to avenge his brother was Aki's ultimate goal in life, and he's letting it all go to protect them. Ever since Denji's safety needs are met through his employment as a devil hunter, he's become comfortable enough to open himself up and form these sorts of meaningful, loving connections to those around him. He was able to climb up from the bottom of the pyramid and finally find the sense of love and belonging he lacked his whole life. But unfortunately for him, it wouldn't last, as Denji would soon lose the first 2 people in his life that finally loved him for who he is. It's something that really struck me while reading because we're truly able to feel how deeply this wounds him. It honestly left me speechless. How would this change Denji for the rest of the series? And how would it affect the development that he's had up until now? Another thing that I appreciated about Denji is that although his initial motives weren't exactly very honorable, he still stuck by them and took things seriously. Also, although he can sometimes be a bit of a perv and isn't exactly the most well-mannered, he doesn't throw himself on every single woman he sees either.
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead!
There's only 2 women he really chases after. Maybe you could argue 3, but there's one of them that I personally just wouldn't count. Denji's personality is basically the complete opposite of what we're used to seeing from a shonen protagonist, but that helped Chainsaw Man feel all the more unique and fresh. Certain scenes make you feel like he's a simple and goofy character, while others really show you how layered and interesting he really is. He's constantly confronted with the cruelty of his world, but in moments where it would be forgivable for somebody like him to give up, he just doesn't. I was initially skeptical about having a character like Denji as a main protagonist, but it turns out that I was just completely fucking wrong.